Hey guys, so this is Chantel, school counselor. I just really quickly want to give a tutorial on the whole process of MTSS, how it works. I said I was going to send this video out early in the school year and stuff got chaotic. It didn't do it. So here I am. So I'm going to share my screen. There's a slideshow for PowerPoint slideshow that Ms. Missouri made. And I'm going to use that to kind of guide me through the MTSS process. And then I'll do another video to kind of show you in focus how to set it up with the parent meeting and then like the data and things like that, okay? All right, so right now I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so you should see multi-tier system of support, which is what MTSS stands for. And we're gonna go ahead and go to the first slide. What is MTSS? MTSS stands for multi-tier system of support, and it's an organizational framework where resources and services are organized based on the student's academic or behavior or social needs, okay? So that's the key thing. Framework is something because you're already doing MTSS in the classroom. You organize in their behavior academic interventions within this framework, and you're using data to back up what you're saying is going on with the student. So if a student is struggling, we can't say, oh, the student's struggling. You know, you have to show how they're struggling. That's looking at the progress monitoring data. So different assessments is given, and also looking at standardized test scores and things like that. Like if they're the bottom quartile, then they need to be on a tier intervention. Is basically what it is. So it's important that we have the data because that shows fidelity in terms of like supporting what we're saying. All right, so this is the problem solving process. So it starts with number one, the problem, identifying what it is. This kid is struggling in language arts. Step two, analyze the problem. Why is it occurring? They're missing foundational skills. They're lacking these skills. I don't know, maybe they need some fluency skills. Whatever it is, you have to figure out what it is. What are we going to do about it? We're going to put an intervention in place. We'll put a tier 2 in place that focuses on this. And these are the interventions I'm going to use to help them bring their scores up or to help them understand the concepts better. And then step 4, response to the intervention. We have our tier meetings monthly through our PLCs, and we say, how's it working? You know, looking at the data is how it's working. Like we see, are the test scores coming up? Are they making any gains? If not, we need to look at elevating them from a tier 2 and adding a tier 3 to that. So something that's more intensive. And let's say they're already on a tier 3, then we need to look at possible ESC services and getting that started for the student, if that makes sense. All right, so this is the problem solving process right here. Okay, so what are tier 3s in MTSS? Okay, or what are tiers, sorry. So tier 1 is what you're doing with all the students, large group, that's 80% of the students. It's daily instruction, all the stuff you do when you differentiate, all that's included in tier 1. Tier 2 is additional interventions for the students that need more support, and that typically occurs in a 120-minute reading block. So it also occurs with those different courses we have, like those reading mastery courses, when they break it out and go into other people's classes, we use that data too. Tier 3 is, we have Power Hour doing here, but I don't know if you guys have Power Hour at this school or if it's called something else. So Power Hour, or really just doing those reading mastery courses that we do where you splitting the kids up when they go into the science teacher or different teachers, okay? So it's doing those blocks that they're doing tier 2 and tier 3. Okay, so just to review, tier 1, whole class instruction, and this you differentiating instruction within the whole class, okay? It's flexible, you know, you're addressing all the students' needs as much as you can, and you're monitoring their progress, and that's normally due to the grades they're receiving on tests and regular assignments in the classroom, okay? So 80% of the students. All right, so whole group, you differentiating, that's the majority of the students in this group. Tier 2 is you looking at kids that are struggling a little bit more. So you putting them in the small groups in those 120-minute reading blocks, and you offer them additional support in addition to the tier 1. In addition to large group, they meet in small group to get more intensive services. This counts for 10 to 15% of the students, okay? All right, so that's tier 2. It's outside of the, this one says it's provided outside of the 90-minute literacy block 5 days per week, or is within the literacy blocks 5 days per week. Now, this is for elementary school that Miss Deidre, you know, she has other schools. I don't know if it works specifically like this for our school, but we do normally have those 120-minute reading blocks, and that's when you do your rotations where you do small groups and the kids working on this block doing something else, independent reading, working on the iPads, whatever you're doing. And you will work with those small groups of kids, could be like 4 to 6 kids, on areas that they're struggling with to kind of give them more intensive support. That's the tier 2, and it normally occurs within that reading block. All right, then tier 3 is offered in addition to tier 1 and tier 2, where it's more frequent progress monitoring and is more intensive problem-solving skills. So this is about 5 to 10% of the students will benefit from this. So it's a smaller amount, okay? So tier 3 is not done on a daily basis, and it's beyond tier 2 interventions. Is delivered with more intensity. So if you were working, I'm trying to think of something to explain it. I can explain it from a behavior point of view. So tier 2 behavior will be check in, check out, okay, or small group counseling, which I haven't started yet. Okay, but a tier 3 behavior will be individual counseling, or maybe I'm referring somebody to mental health counseling. It's just more intensive. Okay, tier 3 would be more individualized. It don't have to be individual. It can be a really smaller group, or you're just working with skills and breaking it down even deeper, if that makes sense. All right, so this is the triangle that we use. So at the bottom, 80% is the tier 1. That's all the classrooms, okay? That's all your teaching, you differentiate in the classroom and things like that. Even with the behavior part, it's the incentives that they get, like as far as the Renaissance Festival and the PBIS stuff, get the incentives like so many, like once a month, once a quarter when they do well as far as the PBIS stuff, okay? And then as far as tier 2 is more support added to it. So they need more support in addition to, what they get in tier 1, large group, or those PBIS incentives, whatever. Tier 3 is even more intensive, where you need more individualized interventions. But you can look on one side, it has like the academic, and then the other side, it has the behavior. So you can kind of see how that goes. So how it works is tier 1 is core, large classroom guidance, and differentiating. Tier 2 is core plus supplementing. You supplement with smaller groups to kind of help a little bit more. And tier 3 is core, which is tier 1, supplementing tier 2, and then more intensive help. All right, so I hope that makes sense. What I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna do a focus training for you guys next to show you how to enter the data in the system, okay? And we'll go from there.